Hello Internet, this is Sophia. Welcome to part 2 of my 4-part response to One Godless Woman's video of questions for Third Wave Feminists. In the video description area, I have a link to the YouTube video of part 1 of this presentation. I will keep the video description of part 1 on YouTube up to date so that from there you can access all other parts of this multi-part presentation that I have so far uploaded. In part 1, I explained how I fight for the values of a secular society, but not just against Islamic theocrats. Rather, I fight for this against theocrats of all religious affiliations. Having done that, let's continue viewing her video so that I can answer more of her questions.
Question 2. I understand the role of feminism historically and the need for it, as well as the need for feminist movements to give Western women their full rights, equal rights in society. 100 years ago, this was needed. Now, as someone who, at some point, I was an outsider to this culture, to this country, I want to say that I feel that I am 100% accepted and I am treated as an equal member in this society.
Well, while I agree with you that the progress toward equality is indeed much further along in the Western world than it is in the Islamic world, I think that you are going too far when you suggest that we've gotten there or anything. I don't know how things are up there in Canada, but down here in the United States, women are still paid significantly less for the same work as men are. Women are also discriminated against in a number of other ways. Furthermore, while modern feminism is also about making the progress that remains to be made toward a more equal society, it isn't just about that. It is also about fighting to preserve the progress that we have already made, progress that we can lose if we don't fight to keep it. But let's also not forget the progress that remains to be made. One of the events that sparked Third Wave Feminism was the confirmation hearing of a certain Clarence Thomas to the United States Supreme Court. Investigation found that this guy had relentlessly harassed one of his staff members, a certain Anita Hill. The hearing should have been about Judge Thomas's misdeeds and whether or not someone who has so little control over his behavior should be trusted with a lifetime appointment to the nation's highest court. Instead, it ended up being a hearing about whether society should believe a woman's testimony against a man. Sound familiar? And whether or not Anita Hill was asking for it. I even remember from that time period one DJ singing over the radio, "I found my thrill harassing Anita Hill." Granted, this hearing took place about 28 years ago. Mind you, 28 years ago is much more recent than 100 years ago, but you could argue that this still was quite a while ago. So how about we focus on another Supreme Court confirmation that was a bit more recent, like 1 year ago? Let's look at the confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh. Investigation found that he not only sexually harassed, but sexually assaulted not just one, but multiple women. Was the conclusion that someone who would commit such acts just might be unfit for a lifetime appointment to the nation's highest court? Nah. It was just a bunch of boys will be boys talk. Assertions that because Kavanaugh was male and at the time young, he had no ability to control his actions and therefore ought to be immune to being held accountable for them. And again, I don't know about up there in Canada, but down here in the United States, we get that a lot. It is especially strong in and bolstered by fundamentalist Christian society, but it also seeps into the rest of United States society. Men, especially young men, but to some extent men in general, according to this narrative, don't have control over their reactions, and it is therefore the responsibility of women to avoid causing men to stumble. A woman is raped, and it isn't about why her rapist thought it was permissible to violate a fellow human being's bodily autonomy. Instead, it is about what she was wearing and whether or not she was conducting herself in too flirty a manner. In short, whether she had gone far enough out of her way to not just protect herself from him, but to protect him from being tempted by her. Often in very religious Christian families, it is the job of the women in the family to not only protect the men from being tempted by them, but to protect them from temptation in general. For example, one woman from such a family wrote about a code word that women in the family used, Nike, to signal to the men to look down at their shoes should a woman from outside their cult come close who is dressed too immodestly by the cult's standards. So basically, it is a culture where it is the responsibility of women to cover and shroud their bodies, and where men are just told to avert their gaze. Does any of this sound familiar to you? Because it should. You rail against this a lot on your channel, and rightly so, I might add. There is a term that you use to refer to this mentality, and that term is hijab. Yes, hijab is the Islamic term for this, but the exact same nonsense goes on in Christian society. If you oppose hijab, which your channel makes it abundantly clear that you do, then you need to oppose this too. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed part 2 of this 4-part video presentation. If you liked it, please click the thumbs up button and share this video with your friends so that they can enjoy it too. As a matter of fact, if you are a member of any community in which this video would be relevant, it would help this channel a lot if you shared it there as well. And if you haven't already done so, please remember to subscribe to this channel and to hit the bell icon so as to receive notification of videos that I upload to this channel in the future. Until next time, see ya!